Python QuickStart Guide, the simplified beginner's guide to Python programming using hands-on projects and real-world applications. Written by Robert Oliver. Narrated by Andrew Hansen. Copyright 2023 by ClydeBank Media, LLC. Production copyright 2023 by ClydeBank Media, LLC. Please note that your purchase of this audiobook includes a downloadable companion PDF containing all the figures and visual aids referenced throughout this audiobook. Your purchase of this audiobook also includes free lifetime access to the Digital Asset Vault, which contains supplemental resources that enhance the content of this audiobook and maximize the value of your purchase. We highly recommend accessing the companion PDF and digital assets for the best listening experience. Visit www.go.quickstartguides.com/Python to access and download your companion PDF and supplemental materials. Python QuickStart Guide is a code-intensive book. Most of the coding examples in the book will not be included in the narration of this audiobook due to their length and/or complexity. All code examples can be found in the companion PDF, along with the QuickStart Guide's GitHub repository. Accessing the ClydeBank Media GitHub repository will be covered in more detail later in the book. For the optimal listening experience, please ensure you follow along with the provided companion PDF or the print or ebook version. If you have not received a companion PDF with your purchase of this audiobook, please contact support at quickstartguides.com. There are two different types of callouts that will be used throughout the text. The most important segments of code will be referred to as snippets, followed by two sets of numbers. The first set of numbers refers to the chapter, and the second set refers to its placement in that chapter. For example, snippet 02-03. This will refer to the third snippet in Chapter 2. Each of these code snippets corresponds to a snippet in the GitHub repository, where you can easily copy the code for your own use. Smaller chunks of code, iterations on examples from the snippets, complex URLs, and any other odds and ends will be referred to as code lines and are numbered sequentially. For example, you may hear, as seen in code line 200. This will refer code line 200 in your companion PDF. These code lines are not included in the GitHub repository, but are located in your companion PDF. Introduction. Welcome to Python. My name is Robert Oliver, and I'll be your guide through the exciting, engaging, and challenging endeavor of learning a programming language. It was a dark and stormy night. While I now program quite a bit at night, my programming journey started on a bright, sunny, early June morning. As a young teenager, I sat in front of my stepmother's Tandy 1000, an older computer, even in the early 1990s, and enjoyed playing the myriad of video games that had been installed on it. Even though I previously had some computer experience, I was mystified by the possibilities. It was summer break, and I had all the time in the world, so I started reading the basic, beginner's all-purpose symbolic instruction code, language source code to some of these games. It was a struggle at first, as I really didn't know much about programming, but soon I started to see patterns in the code and how everything fit together to make the video games run. Armed with several books, I taught myself DOS, BASIC, and even dabbled in a little Pascal, another programming language, as I fully extracted the computing goodness that old Tandy had to offer. Later, I got my own computer, a Tandy 2500, an Intel 386 computer that ran MS-DOS 5 and Windows 3.1. Armed with QBasic, I wrote my own video games and programs. It was fun, but I quickly ran into problems. Video games take a lot of computing power, and computers back then didn't exactly have that to spare. So to extract the most performance from the machine and power my games, I wrote critical parts of the games in assembly language, a bare metal language that computers natively understand, to speed things along. Granted, I ran into numerous problems, talking back and forth between my BASIC and assembly programs, but I eventually worked out a solution that made me reasonably happy. I poked and prodded into every corner of that machine's memory, and by the time I had moved to Windows 98, I largely skipped Windows 95, I could tell you everything about that computer you could possibly want to know, down to the basic hardware level. My immense love of systems programming came from this era, and it hasn't left me. My dad bought me Visual Basic 6 and some great manuals in the Windows 98 years. And from this, I really started to formalize my programming knowledge, learning about classes, objects, and all the things I'd need to know to program professionally. From there, I went into web programming, but I continued to write scripts and programs, first with Perl, then with Python from 2006 onward. Despite having learned so much since then, nothing can replace the joy I felt when I mastered the mystical world of computing by telling my computer exactly what I wanted it to do. I want you to feel that same joy too. By the end of this book, you'll have a good understanding of Python and will have written a fair number of lines of code. In addition, we'll be building a coffee shop game that will be both fun to write and fun to play. You'll not only have experience coding in Python, but you'll have a project to show for it and the knowledge to create your own programs. What is Python? There are two ways to answer that question. First, here's the technical explanation with computer science terminology kept to a minimum. Python is a multi-purpose programming language. It is flexible enough to allow several different programming approaches and comes with a large array of functionality right out of the box. It enforces a strict code formatting style that places a high emphasis on readability. Now, what is Python in everyday terms? It's an awesome programming language that lets you do a wide variety of tasks, everything from system utilities to business programs to games to website backends and even artificial intelligence. Many Fortune 500 companies use Python, including household names like Google, IBM, Intel, Netflix, and Spotify. And Python is very popular in scientific circles. In fact, NASA uses Python heavily. What is programming? This might seem like an unusual question to ask in a programming book, but it's a question I've been asked more than once by people who are considering getting into the field. If you aren't a programmer, the definition can seem a bit nebulous. Programming is the act of defining instructions that tell a computer how to solve a problem or perform some tasks. It differs from merely using a computer in that running a program like a word processor, spreadsheet, or video editor might create content, for instance, a balance sheet, a YouTube video, or a book. But it doesn't tell the computer how to solve a specific problem. To continue with this analogy, using a word processing program to write a book is not programming, but programming would describe the creation of the word processor. I have a friend who's a very talented web designer who doesn't really consider himself a programmer. He's made the argument that someone who just copies and pastes code, modifying it to suit their purposes, is more of a hacker than a programmer. Whenever he mentions this, I tell him it's pure hogwash. A programmer is anyone who writes programs, and
Sample complete. Ready to continue?